a minute. We're going up against a team that's been forged in the fires of adversity, extremely volatile region in EMEA. So, Nova gets the ring to a degree, a slightly safer setup here without the Gale, of course. Still some short-range brawlers, though, and Aspartame still struggles.
Yeah, so far, start is fairly similar to game number 1, as we have a lot of mid-control here for Clash. Ikeo so dominant on the left side, just a constant presence and a constant problem as he picks up a kill, followed up by a kill from Lena. And now Clash have control to pick up some more gems. Actually, they're letting Lena pick up those extra gems. That's already 6, and that is giving too much respect to your opponents, too much space. As Clash, they have 7 gems already in their pocket.
I mean, it's astonishing that Lena was able to move up the middle of the map and take those 3 gems. The amount of control that Clash are able to exert here with this extremely long-range composition, quite frightening. And Nova didn't really pick into a longer-range setup themselves. I mean, they've still got the Sandy here. Tara gets picked up. They're going to have to hope for a shock and awe moment, a big play with this Tara pull. Otherwise, they're in deep trouble.
7 gems still for Clash, but they have 2 on their side of the map. Should be pretty easy to reach. Aspartame is trying to contest them, trying to create a bit of space for his teammates to make something happen, but he ends up going down. That's 2 kills now. Today, solo HP, that's a team wipe. As Lena closes things out, and Clash start off yet another countdown. 10 seconds left, and I don't see how Nova Esport can interrupt this.
I mean, Gear now doesn't really need to do too much. He can stay in the middle of the map. He's got the benefit of being a sharpshooter, but not being the gem carrier. He gets to play a little bit more aggressively. A very one-sided first set there as Clash starts strong. You know, Teddy, Lena made a tweet the other day. He sort of tweets saying, players that treat lands like a holiday with yawning emojis. You see just how serious this team is. They're not here for fun. This is the holiday to them. They're here to take it all away.
Clash is one of those teams where their fun is winning, and they are going to do everything they can to achieve that. So far, it's working out amazingly. And what worries me a little bit here is that we're starting off with some modes where both teams are not necessarily the most comfortable. Minecart Madness, for Gem Grab, we'll have Bounty, we'll have Siege. Those are definitely not the most comfortable modes for those guys, but sets 4 and 5 are where they really shine. Hot Sun, Brawl, we might get 2 there, maybe not so far. It's looking really good for a Clash, and look at that, same brawler, it's a mirror matchup, and it's just a world of a difference between those guys' stats.
I mean, there it is. Lena is like, yeah, comfortable. We're going to have a 3-0 here today. And you make a great point, Teddy. All of Nova China, especially Nova China, their best maps are at the end of the series. They don't get to play their best maps unless they can win on one or like a set that they're not good at, right? They have like a 92% win rate on Brawl Ball. Bad luck. It's the last set in this entire series. Hot Zone, yeah, it's the second last. You know, the rest of this one is looking fairly bleak for this team. Now, let's be clear. Nova China doesn't lose a lot of games, a lot of sets even regionally. They are very comfortable, but I think this really is this is a great reminder that, yes, Clash are a number 2 team in their region, but they've had so much more high caliber competition, whereas Nova have had many months, Teddy, I'll be honest, they've just steamrolled through the competition. And maybe that gives you like a false idea of where you stand, in the sort of global pecking order here. And hopefully they were, able to benefit from some scrims in China, but they aren't here in Bucharest. They can't scrim with the rest of the teams here at the World Finals, and you can see what a difference it makes. This isn't just a World Finals event. It's like a boot camp for many of these teams in the days prior.
Oh, absolutely. And the thing here as well is that Clash, as you mentioned, they were always second in the region of EMEA, and that means that they always had to adapt to try to overcome and try to beat SK, and that means they had that dynamic of always wanting to learn more so that they could reach the top, which they weren't really able to do consistently this year. And that dynamic, that way of learning and of getting better and better and better over time, that's what brings you here and gains you that confidence. Whereas Nova, they were always sitting on the top, looking down, not really having quite as much to work on and to improve. And once the competition increases by, going out of specific regions and going to the international world finals, that is where that lack of experience can be very problematic.
I can see Lenar there in lobby. He's just spamming the start game button. They're just waiting for Nova to select their brawlers. They are absolutely ready to go here. And again, we talk about how Nova China, very good Brawl Ball map. I think you pointed out that, the same can be said for Clash. Brawl Ball is their best game type, and that isn't, it's not going to come up unless there's a tiebreaker set to be required here. But this is a shell-shocked Nova Esports right now, realizing just how scary the giants of the West have become. I mean, Clash have played in so many, we call them El Clasicos, right, in the European region. SK Gaming were their sparring partner for so many of these. They made each other stronger. And now Clash realized that SK's not here anymore. They are the ones that have to really carry the torch alongside Reply Totem for their region, with so many of their, their brethren teams being knocked out here. It's still a scary field. It's still a scary competition, but this is a Clash that looks pretty comfortable being up there on stage. What was the gear? This is what is he smoothing his eyebrows? Do people even do that anymore?
I'm not sure, but something I want to just add up that you mentioned earlier, Split and Basketball being at the end, so Hot Zone and Brawl Ball being the best modes for Nova, and they only get to play it in set 4 and 5.
Yeah.
The thing is, those are also the best modes for Clash. And that is a huge problem for a matchup like this. When you are the underdog, ideally you want to get a bit lucky and have some game modes you're very comfortable with early on that are not your opponent's favorite game modes. And here, because it's so similar and Clash overall on paper is the better team, there isn't that specific element where they stand a very big chance at taking that set. And that can be a huge problem getting further into this match. We'll see how Bounty goes down. It is Clash's weakest game mode, so if there is anywhere where Nova stand a chance at gaining a little bit of confidence and momentum, this has to be it. But honestly, so far from how hot Clash looked in that first set, I'm not even sure if they can do that.
Let me pose this question to you, right? We got bans from Clash of Tick and Jean. Do you feel like that's them trying to make their bounty experience a little more comfortable, right? Because a ton of teams like that, those two brawlers sort of form the core of a lot of common strategies on a lot of bounty maps, for example. Do you feel like that's what they're going for?
I think this is one of those occurrences where it is just a very smart ban, especially for Tick, because it is a brawler that we see a lot played in mainland China. It is also a brawler that we see a lot played specifically by Nova. And as you mentioned, it is really a staple brawler of dry season. And in general, when you want to go for your bans, you want to make sure that the maps and modes that are the most covered are the 3 first ones in a best of 5, right? Because you know you're going to be playing them, and you don't want to go for a ban that only applies to set 5, because you don't know if you'll get all the way to set 5. So you want to cover as much ground as you can, especially early on. And that makes it a very complete ban. Works in tons of different ways. And Jean, I think that's just a brawler that Clash don't like facing. They banned it pretty consistently across the entire year in the monthly finals, and there's a little bit less of a specific story to it.
And I thought it was interesting with some of those safer brawlers getting banned out there. That meant that like the full breadth of sharpshooters was available. I think in our last couple of months in a few of the regions, a lot of teams were trying to ban as many of them as they could, right? Like Byron was attracting a lot of bans. Bell also, just because they were so low maintenance and very effective. Didn't have to commit to that degree at all. In fact, they kind of wanted to play slow and safe until Lenar just got given 3 free gems and really sped things up a whole. I think Clash were ready to play like the long game, like the 10-9 kind of gem count, but you highlighted that Nova were respecting them a lot. I think they were really on the back foot after how that first round went, and realized they were just getting slaughtered across the map. That they maybe gave Clash a little bit too much to work with here. And you can see on the stage here, ladies and gentlemen, that we've got the players just waiting to get into game. On the side of Nova Esports, they are located in the Chinese studios there, so they are in person with one another. And again, for these two teams, we have a approximately equidistant server for them to play on. Just to be clear, obviously this is online for this particular matchup. So it has a slight impact, but you can see that didn't really affect, you know, a lot of these sharpshooters that we saw play, which are, you know, probably the brawlers that are going to most be affected by that sort of distance. But we're in, Teddy. It's time for dry season. That's the best fill I've got. Take it away.
Man, Lena just comes in a quick kill off the bat, and he is still going, still tapping. And now he has the super to remove those walls as well. Yeah, I was waiting for his teammate to get a bit of better position because obviously Sprout does want to have some walls to work with, but it's a slaughterhouse so far.
I don't know what today is hoping for. I'll be honest with you. From this position here, a lot of pressure. Gear's not going to allow him to play the left-hand side. Oh, he tries to turn tail, but the homemade recipe clips his heels, and it's 7-0 for Clash.
We talked a lot about regional metas and each different region having their own specific brawlers that are kind of iconic. Can we talk about this comp here from Nova Esports? Dry Season, Bo, Carl, and Penny. What on earth is that?
It's bizarre, and I think it's a composition that really requires Nova to have this middle part of the map under their control. They do now for a time, but it is quite bizarre, right? I think OU is going to be outranged to a great degree by sort of Lena and Gear for the most part. I mean, Spartane's fine, but again, he really wants to hope that Clash stack up as much as possible, and he has a chance to build a super, which just hasn't happened yet this round.
Yeah, what I think is so wild, man, is that all three brawlers that we see here from Nova Esports, if you see one of them show up on a map like this, that's a wild card. That's a brawler that is a surprise factor that you're not expecting in the first place, but all three is just absolutely wild so far. It could be Wars, but they are still behind by 2 stars. They need to go on the hunt. They need to find some kills. And quickly, 5 more seconds, and it is not looking too likely. Can Penny maybe line them up? It's not going to be happening as AC Milan Clash take yet another game.
That is bizarre stuff from Nova China. Take nothing away from Clash, of course, who really execute
50% damage almost. That is huge, especially for Piper. Very, very impressive. I'm not sure what this comp was from Nova Ober. It kind of felt like they wanted to go for something very unorthodox to try to catch Clash off guard and put them in a situation that they did not prepare for. Because some of those brawlers, I mean, especially the combination of them, you're not going to be scrimming against that because no one in EMEA is going to have a comp like this on Dry Season. So I think they tried to take the surprise factor to a whole other level. Unfortunately, I think there might be a reason why we don't really play those comps over here because usually they don't work.
Look, I don't. Right, I mean, Penny. So much of her kit would really hope that like Clash is standing fairly still. You know, they're not going to do that. They're going to move around a ton here. Look at this big change up. This wow. There's a BB here, a Buzz, and Poco. So Nova now trying to be about as subtle as a sledgehammer on this next round.
Let's see what they can do. I mean, options are there, and damage-wise, Clash might struggle to find enough DPS to get those kills on the tanks before they get up close, especially if they can sync up the healing very nicely. That is going to be first blood, and that goes the way of Nova. They find a second kill as well, and this is another Nova we see here. Great comp here, and honestly, Clash are gonna struggle to catch up. As I mentioned, the lack of
maintain control of this middle part of the map. Getting that elimination there on OU is huge. Nova can't really take any space back with only 2 players, and Clash now have the blue star, and they're even. This is huge. But again, Aspartame and OU need to be punished for every inch they try and encroach towards the middle part of this map, or it's going to be over. And this is great poke damage from Clash. Exactly what the Doctor ordered. Chaos also has a hedge to slow down Aspartame, for example, as they try and push up, but it's a homemade recipe from Lenan. It's irresistible, Teddy. AC Milan Clash now lead by 2 stars.
Yeah, they have so much utility to work with, and you can see that Clash are keeping their supers as long as possible because they know that a dash in from the Buzz or just the BB running at it with the shield could be a problem to deal with, so they're keeping their utility for when they need it the most. And Nova, they just don't know how to commit at this point. The map is too opened up, not enough cover for the tanks to work with, and that is going to be set number 2 secured by AQM.
And this is where the dread is going to start to creep in for Nova China because they tried a couple of distinctly different looks, Teddy, on that particular set. None of them worked out for them at all here, and it's a very bad sign for that team. You saw that, Clash, their composition, yeah, I mean, it doesn't deal very well with brawlers that want to get up close and personal, like, batting stance, of course, for that extra durability for BB, as she wants to try and, shrug off as much of that poke damage as possible. The Poco heals are so important there, just to try and keep Nova in a position where they can actually step up. This first comp just made no sense to me, and you couldn't figure it out either, so that's a good sign. That means I'm on the right track being confused. But this time around, obviously, Poco double tank is, pretty elementary. We kind of understand, but today was trying to heal two teammates that were spread on very different parts of the map with Decapo. It was not easy.
Yeah, it definitely was complicated. I mean, in the end, I feel like Nova had a great comp to make this work. I think Clash just had the perfect answer, not in the comp, but in the execution. This is the kind of situation that you deal with a ton, especially on dry season, where you end up facing tanks and you don't really have the damage typically to deal with it, and you are technically, you don't have the upper hand. But you can still deal with it if you hit your shots, if your mechanics are on point, if your rotations are good, if you help your teammates out on their lanes, that can work. What is going to be very problematic now, Uber, is we're moving on to Siege, and Siege is Nova Esports' worst game mode this year in the BSC. AQM surprisingly improved a lot. Early in the year, both Hot Zone and Siege were some of their worst game modes, but they got better and better, worked through it, and now Factory Rush is amongst their favorite modes, and it is not really so fitting to their playstyle, but it is a team that has evolved a lot, and they're looking pretty good in Siege lately. So I'm genuinely worried right now for Nova Esports, because they need to win this set, otherwise it's the end of their year here for the BSC, and it's on their worst mode.
One of the biggest positives here from Clash, amongst many of them in this series so far, is that they actually haven't had to show too much of their hand to their potential opponents waiting, on the other side of this round of 16. They're playing the same comp. It's a double sharpshooter with Sprout in there. It's nothing overly fancy. It's nothing overly complicated. So for Clash, this is a win on two fronts, right? Obviously, getting into the quarterfinals is huge, but also being able to really keep a lot of their cards close to their chest and, preventing any of their would-be opponents from getting an early leg up on them by figuring out their favorite sort of styles is a big deal. Nova obviously have had to show their hand, right? They've had to show a few of their different compositions here, and yeah, I mean, you bring up their record on Siege so far. Don't get me wrong, they've played plenty of Siege. It's not like a small sample size issue. And in a region that they normally, frankly, wipe the floor with their opponents, they're barely even on win and loss here. Or is it 13-12 is Nova's Siege record? So that says a lot when, your best map is 92%, your worst is 52. It's a lot of spread there. And what a difficult situation where Nova have to mount their comeback starting with their worst possible game type against an extremely confident opponent here.
Yeah, and this is once again the situation of Nova being on top of their region, because you can afford to have a game
from Nova China, and things didn't look any better for the mainland China roster on the other side there. So, look, if you're winning your lanes, you're absolutely going to win when it comes to Siege. And Nova got bundled out of that map unceremoniously. Yes, they managed to get a Siege at the end there, but you saw just how ready Clash were to sort of coordinate and deal with the Siege bot, and here it is. The kings of mainland China are staring down an extremely early exit from the World Finals.
Uber, this year, Nova Esports have not lost a single match. Not a single match. And this might be the first loss at the World Finals in the round of 16. That has got to put some pressure on them. And you can look at them and see that they are nervous. They know what might be happening at the results of this next game, and they are going to be giving it their all. They want to pull through. They want to start that comeback, but they have yet to win a game here against Clash.
Listen, I mean, this is where they're saying a rising tide lifts all boats comes from. If you're going back to your home regions after the World Finals, regardless of your result, you want the rest of your region to...
ده كان زمان